All right, so we've got a pretty hefty stack of stuff here. Business plans, marketing materials, web copy, the whole shebang. And it's all about Lania Kia.
Lani Ikea.
Yeah, they're calling themselves the, quote, next generation of social networks, end quote.
Hmm.
And, honestly, after skimming through this, I think they might actually be onto something. But we're going to find out, right? In this deep dive. We'll unpack everything Lania Kia is proposing and see if they can really live up to all this hype.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I think they're tapping into something a lot of us feel when we're online. Like we all spend so much time on social
The
media.
USOs.
Yeah, but who's really benefiting? I mean, it feels like it's the big platforms, not the people actually making the content, right?
Yeah, and the sources we have today really drive that point home. I think one of the stats that really jumped out at me was that digital ad spending reached almost $720 billion in 2023,
Wow.
which is an insane amount of money. But, most of that money goes to the big players, not the small creators and businesses who are actually driving engagement.
Yeah, that's the problem Lanik is trying to solve, right? Their big idea is to actually tokenize things like likes, views, shares, all those things we do online all the time. Essentially turning those actions, those engagements into digital assets
So, like, with real value.
with real value. Like
Yeah.
think of it, every time someone interacts with your content, you're earning essentially a micropayment.
Whoa, so instead of just mindlessly scrolling and liking, we'd actually be participating in like a mini economy. That's
Exactly.
a pretty wild concept. How would that even work?
Well, they're using blockchain technology to make it happen.
Okay,
So every interaction is transparently recorded, and verifiable. So creators and businesses can see exactly what their content is worth.
that makes sense.
And it cuts out the middleman, all those ad platforms. So more of that ad revenue, that $720 billion, goes directly to the people making the content.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but let's be real for a second. Blockchain can be so complicated. Are they really going to be able to make this user-friendly enough that the average person can, wrap their head around it and actually use it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one thing to have this ambitious vision, but it's got to be accessible,
Right.
right? And Lani Kea seems to be banking on their app ecosystem to make that happen.
Okay.
They're not just building one app. They're creating a whole suite of apps that all tie into this system.
So I was looking at the lists of apps they're proposing. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
There's Shooting Stars, which is ride sharing.
Yeah.
Then there's Epoch for education.
Right.
Eclipse, I think that's for event funding.
Mm.
Land for professional services. Earth is lodging. There's LK Music. There's a chat app called Whisper, which has, I guess, really advanced AI integration. And then there's Hubble, which is their financial platform.
I'm on LK Film. That's for like entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're trying to build a whole digital universe. It's kind of overwhelming.
It is ambitious, but if you look closer, there's a theme running through all of them. They're all designed to be user-friendly, personalized with AI,
Uh-huh.
and integrated with that, tokenized reward system we were talking about.
So instead of just being a user on these apps, you're actually becoming like a participant in their economy.
Exactly.
You're earning something for your time, your activity, your data.
Contributions.
Okay, let's take Shooting Stars, their ride-sharing app. How are they gonna, compete with the Ubers and Lyfts of the world? What makes them different?
Well, they're saying they're not just competing on price or convenience. They're using AI to personalize and make the experience safer.
Okay.
Imagine, like, your ride-sharing app verifying the driver's identity, tracking your location in real time, even like adjusting the music and temperature based on your preferences.
So it's like they're taking the best parts of all the apps we already use and like adding another layer of smarts on top.
Exactly.
But I mean, wouldn't something like that require access to a ton of data? What about privacy? Is that addressed anywhere in here?
Well, that's always the trade-off with AI, right?
Yeah.
More data equals better personalization. But yeah, it definitely raises those questions about how that data is being used, how it's protected.
Right.
I think we need to dig a little deeper into their privacy policies to see how they're addressing those concerns.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, now what about Epoch? That's their education platform, right? How are they trying to change the game when it comes to like online learning?
Well, they're really focused on empowering people who have expertise in a subject, subject matter experts.
Yeah.
So they can share that knowledge and actually get paid for it.
Okay.
Imagine a global network where you can learn anything from astrophysics to like ancient philosophy directly from the leading experts.
So it's like masterclass, but like on steroids.
Yeah. But the teachers are actually compensated fairly,
Right.
right? And because it's all tied into Laniki's system, the students aren't just passively watching videos, they're actively contributing to the value of the whole platform. And every comment, every question, it all generates micro revenue for the teacher and for the students.
Wow, that's a pretty cool model. Okay, let's talk about Hubble for a second. This is their blockchain-powered financial platform. What makes this different from just using, my regular banking app?
Well, they're all about transparency and security. Because it uses blockchain, every single transaction is recorded publicly, so it's super difficult to tamper with.
So, like, a super secure, super transparent digital bank. Got it.
Yeah, and that's the idea.
But how do they make money? I mean, banks charge fees, interest, that's how they make their money. What's the revenue model for Hubble?
It looks like they're going to have a small transaction fee for every interaction on the platform, but
Hmm,
they're also betting that the increased security and transparency is going to attract people who just don't trust traditional banks.
makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about a few of their apps, but they're taking on some pretty massive industries here. Social media, finance, even education. I mean, can they really compete with the giants that are already out there?
It's a David and Goliath situation for sure,
Hmm.
but they seem to be banking on their tech, and this whole user-centric approach. And don't forget the power of network effects. The more people that join, the more valuable the whole platform becomes.
That's true. It's like a snowball effect.
No.
But I mean, it's a lot to wrap your head around. They're creating their own like digital ecosystem, their own currency, their own rules, their own reward system. I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing.
It's bold, that's for sure. And it'll be fascinating to see if they can actually pull it off. But
Yeah.
using all this AI and blockchain, they're definitely at the forefront of what's possible technologically.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so their business plan, there's got to be some hard numbers in here. What's their traction like right now? What kind of projections are they making about the future?
All right, let's see. Looks like they've been in beta for 3 years, which is a pretty decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And in that time, they've managed to attract 320,000 active users.
Hmm.
And they've had over 500 million interactions on the platform.
Okay, I mean, those are pretty decent numbers for a beta,
Up, up.
but they're going to have to scale that up like massively if they want to disrupt all these
Right.
industries, right? What kind of growth are they projecting?
Well, they've got a couple of scenarios outlined in their business plan. Their best case scenario. They're projecting they become like predominant player in this new space,
Yeah.
generating over $1 billion in annual revenue within the next few years.
Whoa, $1 billion. That's a crazy ambitious goal. What about like their more realistic projections? What does success look like to them besides, world domination?
Their more realistic success scenario still involves a ton of growth. They're aiming for 5% of the market share in like the five biggest cities in Mexico, which
Yeah.
they think would translate to annual profits somewhere between 20 and $30 million.
Okay, so even if they don't become like the next Google or Facebook, they still see a path to actually being profitable and, having a real impact. But how do they plan on getting there? What's their like grand strategy for attracting users and building momentum?
Well, it looks like they've got a multi-pronged approach. First, they're really focused on building that community,
Mm-hmm.
like appealing to early adopters who get excited about new tech,
So people who are always on the cutting edge.
Right, exactly. People who want to be part of something new and innovative.
But they're going to have to go beyond that niche market if they want to like go mainstream.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Their next step is expanding into new markets, new demographics. They're talking about launching targeted marketing campaigns, in key cities around the world, and highlighting how their platform benefits both the users and the businesses.
So they're going global,
They're going global.
which again makes sense with these huge goals. But I mean, that comes with a whole other set of challenges, right? Different languages, different cultures.
Different regulations.
Yeah, how are they going to handle all that?
It looks like that's where this path to integration thing comes in.
Okay.
They've outlined this plan for constantly evaluating how things are going, adapting and iterating based on the feedback they're getting and the market trends.
So they're not just launching a finished product and hoping for the best. They're building something that's designed to change and grow over time.
Exactly.
Smart. Especially in the tech world, you've got to be like super agile and responsive if you want to stay ahead of the game.
And it seems like AI is going to be a big part of how they stay adaptable.
Right.
They're going to be using it to analyze the data they're getting, identify trends, even translate the platform into different languages so it's accessible to everyone.
So they're really pulling out all the stops to try to make this work.
Yeah.
But there's always that risk, right? with something this complex, this ambitious, it could just become too much, too fragmented, too difficult to manage.
It's definitely a balancing act. They have to offer enough to attract a wide range of users, but they also need to make sure it's all coherent, simple enough that it doesn't overwhelm people.
So it's a tightrope walk between like constant innovation and actually making it user friendly.
Exactly.
But I mean, they seem to be aware of these challenges and it seems like they're trying to address them head on.
Yeah, and that brings us to the most important ingredient in any successful venture, right?
The team.
The team. We've talked a lot about the founder, Eric Rosado, the CIO, but who else is on board?
Yeah, and what kind of experience do they bring to the table?
Their business plan gives us a little bit of a peek into their organizational structure, but it's pretty light on details about the actual people involved.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Rosato's the founder. He's the face of the company.
Right.
But, building something like this takes a whole team effort. I'm curious to see who else is calling the shots and what their background is.
Yeah, definitely. It's time to shift gears and take a closer look at the team behind Lana Kia.
Because ultimately, their success or failure depends on them and their leadership.
So one of the, I think, biggest challenges they're going to face
Yeah.
for any platform that relies on people making content is
User-generated content.
user-generated content. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you can get people to sign up,
Yeah.
but how do you keep them engaged? How do you get them to actually make things and share?
Especially with all the other stuff that's out there. I mean, they're going up against, these massive social media companies.
Giants.
Yeah, giants. You've got established e-commerce sites, ride-sharing companies.
It's crowded.
Yeah, it's a crowded space. So how do they plan to stand out and convince people to, like, switch over?
Well, one of their big strategies seems to be focusing on building a really strong community around the platform.
Okay.
They're targeting those early adopters, people who are excited about the potential of like all this new tech,
The blockchain people.
blockchain AI, the people who want to be part of something new.
So they're going after that, like, a tech-savvy crowd who are always, looking for the next big thing.
Right.
But to get to that next level, they're going to need to appeal to, like, everyone.
Well, absolutely. They can't just stay in that niche. So the next step is expanding into new markets, new demographics.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they're planning to launch like these really targeted marketing campaigns in key cities around the world, emphasizing how their platform can benefit, everyone, not just the users, but the businesses too.
So going global.
Global.
Which
Yeah.
makes sense with these huge goals. But I mean, going global has like a whole other set of challenges, right? You got to think about different languages, cultures, regulations, all that stuff.
Totally different playing field.
Yeah. How are they planning on adapting to all of that?
Well, it looks like that's where this path to integration comes in. They've outlined a plan for constantly evaluating how things are going, getting feedback,
Yeah.
and then adapting and changing things up based on that feedback and also, whatever the market trends are.
So it's not like they're just saying, here's the product, take it or leave it. They're building something that can actually like evolve and change over time.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is smart. I mean, in the tech world, if you're not constantly changing, adapting, you're going to get left behind. Right?
You'll be obsolete.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like AI is going to be a big part of that adaptability.
Right.
Analyzing all that data, figuring out what's working, what's not working, tailoring the experience for different people.
And they're going to be using it to translate the platform into different languages so it's actually accessible globally.
So they're really relying on AI to like personalize the experience and keep the platform, manageable as it grows. But there's always a risk, right? When you're relying so heavily on algorithms. What about like bias?
Yeah, that's a huge concern, especially when you're talking about something like financial data. They're going to have to be really, really careful about how they train their AI models to avoid perpetuating any existing biases.
And what about regulations? I mean, launching this financial platform, Hubble, that's going to attract a lot of attention from regulators, especially as they expand into different countries. Each country has its own rules.
It's a minefield.
Yeah, navigating all of that is going to be a huge challenge.
Absolutely. And that's why having a solid legal team is going to be crucial for them. They got to make sure they're playing by the rules in every market they enter.
So, a lot of potential hurdles for them to overcome.
Definitely.
But let's, imagine for a second that they actually succeed. What could this mean for, our digital lives? What could the impact be?
Well, imagine, seamlessly moving between social media, ride sharing, taking classes, managing your finances, all on one platform that rewards you for participating.
Like a digital utopia.
Kind of, yeah. You're in control of your data, your online experience, even your earning potential. It's a
Yeah.
pretty compelling vision.
But is it realistic? I mean, it sounds amazing, but are we just getting caught up in the hype here?
Well, it's definitely a bold vision, no doubt about it, and there are reasons to be skeptical, but there are also reasons to be, hopeful. We're seeing this shift towards a more decentralized internet where users have more control.
Yeah, like with the whole Web3 thing and the creator economy, people are tired of feeling like they're just a product, you know? They want more control over their data, their content, how they experience the internet.
Right, exactly. And that's what Lenny K is tapping into, that desire for something different. So whether they succeed or fail, they're definitely part of something bigger, something that's pushing the boundaries of what's possible online.
So we've got this real need. They've got this bold vision. They're using all this cutting edge technology. And it seems like they've thought about the challenges and they've got a plan for dealing with them. But in the end, it all comes down to like execution, right?
Yeah, and that brings us back to the team, right?
Yeah.
We know they've got this really talented founder, Eric Rosado. He seems like he's the driving force behind this whole thing. But what about everyone else? Does the rest of the team have what it takes to make this vision a reality?
Yeah, that's the question we'll be exploring in the final part of this deep dive. We're going to take a closer look at the team, their structure, and the leadership that's ultimately going to determine whether Lenny Akea becomes, something truly revolutionary or just another one of those like ambitious tech startups that just fizzles out. Welcome back to the deep dive. It's been a wild ride with Lania Care, right? They've got this crazy ambitious vision. We've talked about all the potential challenges they're facing, but now it's time to talk about like the people actually making this happen, the team.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the tech, and all the big ideas, but ultimately it comes down to the people.
Right, exactly. And obviously we've talked about, Eric Rosado, the founder and CIO. He seems to be like the driving force behind this whole thing, but who else is there?
Well, the business plan, it gives us a little peek into their, organizational structure. It seems pretty standard. Chairman, vice president, CFO, the usual. But one thing that jumped out at me was they talk about having a agile organizational model.
Agile. Yeah, that's like the buzzword of the century.
It is, right. Everyone's agile these days.
So what does that even mean in the context of like Lana Lakia specifically?
Well, they describe it as empowered multidisciplinary teams that are, quote, integrated into the agile transformation stage as part of a synchronized global effort, end quote.
Yeah.
Which basically means I think they want a work environment that's like flexible and collaborative,
Right.
so they can adapt quickly because things change so fast in the tech world.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of moving pieces to manage with this platform. Okay, so we've talked about their structure, but let's get down to like the actual people. The sources we have, they really focus heavily on Rosado. They highlight all his experience in software development. It's pretty impressive. He seems to be like the brains behind all the tech.
Yeah, he's the tech mastermind for sure.
But it's also worth noting that he's not just like a coding whiz.
Hmm.
He seems to really understand blockchain, cryptocurrency, the whole financial world,
Mm-hmm.
which is crucial, especially with, Hubble.
Right, that's their big financial play. He's kind of like this tech finance hybrid, which is perfect for this kind of venture. But building a company as ambitious as Lani Ikea, I mean, it takes a lot more than just one person.
Yeah, no matter how talented they are, they need a team. What do we know about the rest of the leadership?
Hmm. Not a whole lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
The sources are really light on details when it comes to other team members.
Which I guess, makes sense. Rosato's the founder. He's the face of the company. They're going to focus on him. But it does make you wonder, like, what kind of experience does the rest of the team bring? Do they have experts in marketing, user experience, legal, all those other things you need to build a successful global company?
It's a good question. Maybe they're just keeping that information close to the vest right now. Maybe they're still building out those areas as they grow.
Yeah, I guess only time will tell. But you know what they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Ooh, I like that.
So Lenny Kaye's success, it all hinges on their team, whether they can work together, towards this shared vision.
Definitely. And that's why leadership is so important in a venture like this. It's not just about the tech skills. It's about having that clear vision, being able to inspire people, and, getting through all the inevitable bumps in the road when you're trying to disrupt things.
Speaking of vision, let's circle back to Lenny Akaya's like core mission. They want to empower users, they want to create a more equitable and transparent online world, and they want to push the boundaries of technology. Pretty big goals. But can they actually live up to all of that?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question. Only time will tell if they can actually pull it off.
Mm.
But they're tapping into something that people really want, this desire for a more decentralized internet, a more user-centric internet.
Yeah, people are tired of feeling like products. They want more control over their data, their online experiences, and that's
It's
what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating. Lenakea, it's not just a company, it's like this potential catalyst for change. It
mm,
represents where the internet could be headed.
yeah,
Whether they succeed or fail, their journey is going to shape the digital landscape, that's for sure.
definitely.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Lanikia, it's clear they've got the vision, they've got the tech, and they've certainly got the ambition. But can they execute? Can they build a team that's as talented and driven as their founder? If you want to learn more and follow along on their journey, you can check out their website www.leniakia.tv. And until next time, fellow deep divers, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world around us.